Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to United versus everybody. I am your host, Sean. I am going to take a real quick sip of coffee because my throat is pretty rough this morning. Not sick or anything, just allergies. Really bad right now where I'm at. Michigan, the Midwest, horrible for people like me who've got sinus issues and seasonal allergies. It's just constant weather changes. It went from really cold to really muggy this week, and my head has just been killing me. But appreciate everyone jumping by. Danny B already jumping in. Danny B, good morning to you, sir. Danny says, same pal, allergies are a pain in the ass. Yes, they are. Sinuses are rough. But it is what it is. It could be worse, I guess. But happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you guys are going to enjoy your day. Are you guys Halloween people? Do you celebrate? To be honest, the only thing I've ever really liked about Halloween is just, I think it's more of an autumn thing and less a Halloween thing. I like just, the colder weather. I like the smell of leaves. I like watching like old scary movies. I've never liked candy. Even when I was a kid, I did not. I don't like candy. I don't really like pop. I prefer like cookies, cakes, brownies, and things. But even then, I don't do like milk chocolate. I don't do frosting on things. I'm just not a sweets kind of guy. But if you guys are enjoying the holiday, go ahead and enjoy it safely. But in any case, we are here to obviously react to yesterday's Carabao Cup match against Leicester. The Ruud van Nistelrooy era is in full swing, and it is off to a flying start as United beat Leicester 5-2 in the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford. Some of us are probably a little bit confused as to why the ball found its way in the back of the net so frequently, but let me clear it up for you because I know it's confusing. We didn't break anything. Nothing went wrong. There wasn't a glitch in the matrix or anything. That's what's supposed to happen when you score a goal. That's what's supposed to happen, right? We're just not used to seeing it. It's a foreign concept at United this season to score some goals. So hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. If you are buzzing to see some goals, if you are buzzing to see a nice victory at Old Trafford, if you are buzzing just for the vibes right now. And we know that doesn't last long, and we know that we can criticize vibes, but it's okay to enjoy a win. It's okay to enjoy some goals because it was a very good performance. And yes, it was against Leicester, who aren't very good, but at the same time, you can only beat who you're in front of. So I'm going to take it. My greedy ass is actually upset that neither Casemiro or Bruno got their hatties yesterday. I was waiting for that. I really, really wanted somebody to get a hat trick yesterday. It didn't happen, but I do also have a few criticisms, a few little just nitpicky things, but we'll get to that a little bit because I did want to get your thoughts on the match, want to get your thoughts on the draw, want to get your thoughts on some of the Ruben Amorim updates that we're going to talk about a little later on. So let's get stuck in. Right off the bat, though, we got a couple of birthday shout outs today. Both Marcus Rashford and Dennis Irwin celebrate birthdays today. Marcus Rashford, happy 27th birthday, Manc born and bred. As much as we criticize Rashford, as much as he's been just utter garbage performance-wise the last few seasons, and as much as we can demand more from him, especially since we've seen what he can do and what we expect from him and what we're paying him. I mean, he's 27 now. I need him to start acting like it on and off the pitch. I want him to start embracing that leadership role as a senior player in the squad. I want him to start making better decisions off the pitch, whether that's, going to Belfast, whether that's social media stuff. Show us, hey, I realize I'm 27. I realize that I'm a senior player, and I realize that I'm getting paid a lot of money, and I want to show you guys that I deserve that new contract. So Marcus, happy birthday, but let's do better. Show us you deserve the $300K a week, please. And then Dennis Irwin celebrates 59 years today. He was voted as the left back in your guys' all-time starting 11. So go back and watch that video if you haven't yet done so. Let's wish Mr. Reliable a happy birthday, all the best to you, and a couple of birthdays today. So that was fun. Let's move on to the match here, y'all. So obviously we're pumped after a win. We haven't seen a lot of those this season. I know my expectations dropped a bit. I just want us to maybe put together another couple wins. It might be a big ask since we got Chelsea this weekend, but it was a good match nonetheless. Like I said, Casemiro and Bruno each scored 2. Casemiro had 2 in the first half alone. Garnacho grabbed the goal as well as an assist. I think Casemiro obviously had a great match, one of his best matches in a while for United, especially. And like I said, he really could have had a hat trick almost in the first half, to be honest. My greedy ass wanted him to grab it. And his opening goal, I mean, come on, what an absolute perfectly placed screamer. What was that, like 30, 35 yards? Absolute rocket on a postage stamp, kissed the crossbar on the way in. You couldn't have placed that better if you tried with a freaking heat-seeking missile. What a beautiful goal. And we know that Casemiro has that in his locker. He is dangerous on the edge of the box. He is dangerous making those late runs. He is dangerous in that final phase of attack. And he's very, very dangerous on set pieces. He nearly got his hat trick with that free kick. So much better in advanced role, much better when he's not having to be the legs in the pivot, not like much better when he's not having to track back and chase people down. He gets, if you had a little bit of an attacker, an opponent with pace and trickery coming at Casemiro on a full dribble, like Casemiro's done. He's either going to be a card or he's going to get done. So we'll see. Danny says Ugarte, Cass look good. They complemented each other well. Let's hope it's consistent. Yeah, and we're going to talk about Ugarte as well. Garnacho too was heavily involved with the goal and an assist. Like I said, Garnacho also created the most chances in the match. He created 5 chances. Ugarte, as you say, Danny, Ugarte, I thought Ugarte was excellent. So I was at a pub called Sean O'Callahan's right down the road from me. I met Dylan. You guys remember Dylan from a couple of streams. He and I met, watched the match yesterday, and we couldn't praise Ugarte enough yesterday. And while Ugarte, his performance, it's one of those performances where it's not going to feature probably a whole lot in like a highlight reel, but he had one of those, and I said this to Dylan, one of those like Michael Carrick-esque, Sergio Busquets kind of performances where nothing like flashy stood out, but you know that he's just doing his job. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, and he's doing it near perfectly. He's winning the ball left and right. He won 4 out of 6 ground duels, 2 out of 2 aerial duels, 2 interceptions, 3 out of 4 tackles. And then when he won the ball, he did well to find his teammate, which is exactly what he needs to do. 90% pass completion, 2 out of 3 long balls, 8 passes into the final third. When you have a midfielder, especially like a 6 or somebody who plays in that deeper role who you don't really notice because things aren't really going wrong, and because like that to me is an example of them having a fantastic match. And I do think Ugarte had one of those fantastic matches. Danny B says another Roy Keane performance from Ugarte. Yeah. Nick says, should the board cancel Amorim appointment after this result? Don't jump the gun too quickly there, my guy. Justin, good morning, my friend. How did you guys do last night in indoor? Hopefully you guys picked up a win. On Ugarte, I don't know why he hasn't been playing more. I know that Tenhag was giving us the excuse that he needed time to integrate. Anytime he's played, barring like difficult matches against like tough opponents, I don't think Ugarte's looked bad. He's looked like the last couple performances from him have been beautiful. Like there's nothing wrong with them. So I think he's going to fit in just fine in Amorim's system. And like Danny says, he and Casemiro seem to do really, really well together. I think we're going to see a little bit of rotation to start with Amorim to see who is the best fit in this like 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3 kind of system. Is it going to be a Casemiro Ugarte midfield with like Bruno and Rashford behind Højlund or something? Who knows? But there are a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of opportunity for rotation. We've got a lot of matches. And so I think that we can hopefully start to get to a point like you're going to see with like with City a few years back, where they had the squad and they could rotate and everybody was going to get like 30 matches a season almost. Like I'd like us to get back to that point. There's nothing wrong with rotating players, nothing wrong with players who aren't going to play every match. And I think that when you compete in as many competitions and go as deep as United tend to do, I think that everyone will be happy. Oh no, Justin says they got spanked 4-7. You should have called me, man. I was ready. I'll chat to you when we're done here. Danny says Zirkzee was poor again. He improved a bit when he moved away from the striker spot. Yeah, we're going to talk about Zirkzee too, but the goals really, really made me happy, especially since we showed just a clinical edge yesterday that we haven't seen in a while from these players. We exceeded our XG. We had 4 big chances and we had 5 goals. So it's much better than what we've seen this season. Our XG in the last couple matches before this were higher than the goals we scored. And our chances we just weren't putting away. And it's just nice. And this is what I told you. And you've seen how many players we had in and around the box. I told you guys this is exactly what Rude likes. He wants to get players in the box. He wants to get numbers forward. He wants to basically have a +1 from attackers versus defenders when we have the ball in the final phase of attack. And we saw that yesterday. Gives you just the best chance to get something, get a result. I don't think that that's necessarily all down to Rude per se in terms of the way we're finishing. I think that the way we set up in the final phase, yes. The clinical finishing, though, because Rude hasn't, it's not like Rude's had a whole lot of training with these players since Ten Hag left on Monday, but I'm still happy about it. I'm not going to split hairs. I don't want to be overly negative after a big win. Yet I don't like to nitpick, but I do have a few criticisms. We've already kind of alluded to them in the chat. So of course we conceded two, in my opinion, two very cheap goals. And they were down to nobody being alert to the danger at the edge of the box and nobody closing down the space. These are the kind of goals that we conceded time and time again. Remember that Chelsea match last year, that bull crap? They won it like 4-3. The ball is bouncing, comes down to the edge of the box, and no one's doing anything. No one's moving to it. No one closing down the space. Everyone's just watching, waiting for somebody else to do something. Dalot had like just not being alert to the ball into the box. Nobody jumping to try to clear a ball into the box. It's those kind of goals. They're just sloppy. They're cheap. They're just down to just people just not taking initiative, not being alert to where the danger is coming from. And I'm frustrated with that because we shouldn't be conceding goals like that at this level. I think that we've been guilty of that, like I said, for a few years. And I hope that Amorim comes in and sorts it out. He does have a bit more of a stingy, compact defensive structure. He does get a lot more numbers back. And his defense does tend to limit the opposition to shots from outside the box. And so that's the beauty of that 3-4, 3-5, whatever you want to call it, is those two midfielders will drop back to create a back five and make it very, very hard for the opponents to break us down. And so we'll see what happens. It's a shame that we might not see him a little bit for a while. As Danny says, I was a little disappointed with Xerxes. I was a little disappointed with Rashford as well, mostly because they just weren't getting involved. And I think Xerxes in particular still sort of just sticks out a little bit like a sore thumb. It's like I don't know. I'm just struggling to see how Xerxes is going to fit in, especially under a new manager now. He's not a striker, unfortunately. I feel like we need to play Xerxes like Everton play, like David Moyes played Fellaini at Everton, like this almost like a hold up, like number 10 kind of thing, but we don't need that right now. And quite frankly, I say that, but then as I said to Dylan yesterday, like Xerxes is a unit, but he's not using his size very well. His hold up play is not great, which is frustrating too, because at Bologna, his dribbling was good. His hold up play, his link up was very good. And he's just struggling. It just looks like he's just struggling to get up to the pace. He's a bit overwhelmed. And again, I'm giving him time, but I'm struggling to see right now why it is we bought him. Like, what was the plan for Xerxes at United? Because so far I don't see him fitting in the way we play. And so, as always, like I said, I'm willing to give him time, let him get settled in, because it is a big jump from Bologna to Manchester United. And it's a big jump from the Italian league to the Premier League. But at the same time, I need him to do more. Again, Rashford was just kind of anonymous, not really able to get super involved, not really getting a whole lot of touches on the ball and whatnot. Just a quiet game from both. We've seemed to favor Garnacho in recent weeks, trying to get him the ball, which I get because he is dangerous. It's just a shame because Rashford did have a really good purple patch last month, especially earlier in the month too. And it seems like, I'm not calling him a purple patch player. I'm just saying he was in a good run of form. He was doing really well. It's just a shame that it dipped. I don't know what's going on. Maybe pushing him off to the right side. If people are going to say that Dalot playing on the left is partly, a factor is why he struggled, then we have to also assume that maybe that's what's happening with Rashford too. But you guys let me know. Danny says Rashford needs to be dropped. Yeah, give him till this time next year. Talking about Xerxes. Yeah, Rashford, I thought Ahmad looked good when he came on. He looked happy on the touchline when he came on. So I've seen some some photos comparing, his face against Fenerbahce versus his face yesterday, and obviously night and day difference. But it's always good to see Ahmad getting involved. I thought he looked really good. Ahmad has a knack for getting into the box, whether that's just beating a man, whether that's just beating with pace, trickery. He always seems to get in and around the edge of the box in really good positions, and something always seems to happen when Ahmad's on the ball in the final third. So I like us to use him some more. I hope Ruud rotates a little more. If Rashford does get dropped, I have no problem with Garnacho and Ahmad starting. Yesterday might have been the game I would have preferred that for, but maybe had Rashford come on later and maybe play against a tired defense, play against a little bit more open defense, as Leicester were already down by several goals, and give him a little bit more space. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna nitpick, like I said. Really, the only other thing that frustrated me about the performance was something that I've mentioned a few times, and I said it several times to Dylan yesterday. It's like it frustrated, and I said this before. The players turned it on for Ruud, and they hadn't been turning it on for Tenhag. They looked happy, they looked lively, they looked willing to get involved in attacks. But why couldn't they do this under Tenhag this season? How can professionals down tools so easily, but then actually give a shit under Ruud? And I think the whole time I was sitting there with Dylan, I kept saying, like, I'm split right now. They're like, I can't remember a time where I felt equal parts angry and equal parts happy in a match because of the way these players are. And I knew this was gonna happen. And so I'm very angry with the players in that regard. I'm very happy with the goals, but the players, again, I don't want us to forget and overlook the fact that these players do have blood on their hands. And I'm not just talking about Tenhag. I'm talking about Ollie, Ragnick, some of them, Jose. And I think that I hope at some point a manager comes in and he's like, listen, this fuck around and find out shit is going to stop right now, because some of y'all can sit on the bench for all I care. But you guys let me know what you think about that. Danny says Ahmad just needs to play 5 to 6 games consistently, which never happened for him in a United shirt. Yeah, it's hard because he was bought, Ollie got him, and he immediately just went on loan, basically. I remember he had that really good goal against AC Milan, right? That like backwards header, and then he just spent 2 years on loan, which, again, I didn't get the point. It wasn't like he was a youngster at the time. Like, yes, he was a teenager, but he wasn't like a 14, 15, 16-year-old. So I think we could have implemented, that was the same year we got Palestri as well. So it seemed like at that time, the plan from the Glazers and Woodward was just to scattergun and try to uncover the next Mbappe or the next Sancho or something at the time and hope to flip that for some profit. But when you don't have great scouting and great talent identification, this is what happens. I'm not saying Ahmad's bad. I'm just saying he's definitely not the next Mbappe. Although if he manages to stay on side, then he's already better than Mbappe for all I care. So, but anyway, keep hitting that like button if you guys are buzzing about the goals. Hit the like button if you are just dying laughing at Steve Cooper's comments after the match. What was up with that? Old Trafford wasn't intimidating at all. It was good to play in. What a sore loser he is. Yeah, that'll take this thing out of it, Steve. Yeah, maybe Leicester have bigger fish to fry, right? Like maybe avoiding relegation. That's their bigger fish this year. Fucking hell. What a sore loser. The draw for the quarterfinal happened about an hour or so after the final whistle. It does look like United are going to be facing Spurs in the next round. Arsenal have Crystal Palace, Newcastle have Brentford, and Liverpool will face Southampton. All these matches are going to go down on December 17th. And then obviously semis after that. And then it'll wrap up, February time. By the next round, we will have a new permanent manager on the touchline in Ruben Amorim. Y'all thought I was not going to bring that up, didn't you? Nope, I'm here for it. So Fabrizio Romano has confirmed this morning, confirmed as much as anybody can without an official announcement, that Amorim can be considered a United manager. Contract till 2027, so 2.5-year contract. I'm sure there's probably an option for another year in there or so, but you can always renew or extend a contract at any point in time. But Sporting are going to receive the release clause, so we are paying the full 10 million euro release clause. And it sounds like we've negotiated a bit on the money, the compensation to bring staff. So we're paying just 1 million euros for the staff, but it does mean that we have to give them some notice. So it doesn't look like Amorim's going to be here this weekend for the Chelsea match or for our next few matches. Reports are coming in from Alex Crook and Laurie Whitwell this morning that Amorim will remain at Sporting until November 10th. So that's just before the international break. So he's going to come in, have the international break. Hopefully, some of these players can stick around and get some training in before the international break. I swear on my life, though, if Luke Shaw goes to England duty, we riot. I'll be there. I will fly to Manchester just for that riot. You guys let me know. We gotta organize. It seems Sporting want Amorim to stay for their games against Man City in Champions League and Braga, and United have agreed to that. Laurie Whitwell stated that Ipswich on November 24th will be Amorim's first match in charge of United, most likely. So you guys let me know what you think of that. Amorim is not coming alone, though. The extra 1 mil again means that Carlos Fernandez, Adelio Candido, goalkeeper coach Jorge Vital, sports scientist Paulo Barrera, and assistant coach Emmanuel Ferro will be joining him. So he's bringing a lot of coaching staff. What that means for, Yella Ten Relualar, Andreas Jorsen, Rene Haka, Rude, what that means for all of our coaching staff that we just brought in under Ineos, who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see what happens next month. This also means that Rude's going to remain as our interim manager against Chelsea, against PAOK next Thursday, and in a rematch against Leicester next Sunday, just before the international break catches up. So, like Ryan Giggs when he took over as player manager, like Carrick had a short stint, he will get 4 matches in charge, Rude. And if they go anywhere near the way the way yesterday went, I'm not going to complain about that. I don't know if I'd go as far as what Nick's joking around with, saying maybe we should cancel that Amorim appointment and hire Rude full time. But I think that Rude, he's doing a good job. Yesterday was a good match. I liked the difference in the attack, getting the numbers forward, not kind of just passing it around, but looking to get into advanced positions, not just waiting for that perfect shot, which is what we've been saying. You're getting into good positions, move the ball forward, take shots, get in positions, keep moving. And I liked the energy, I liked the pace I saw in the attack. I saw urgency, I saw energy, I saw intent. So far this season, I've just seen us be a little too hesitant, a little too cautious. Nobody really wanted the responsibility of the shot unless it was someone like Garnacho, for instance. And it was just a night and day difference yesterday. So Nick says, fly to England for riot. That's funny, Sean. Danny B says, I hope Rude stays as attacking coach. We'll see. If Amorim is bringing like 5 guys with him, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because it's going to be a lot of coaches. If Rude wants to stay on for the rest of the season and then maybe go in the summer, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think it could be good to have like that bridge connection, someone who's been there for, the first part of the season, and someone who can stay and kind of help Amorim kind of get used to things and get him introduced and kind of be a good go-between, and then maybe walk away a little bit towards the end of the season if he does get an offer. It could be. Danny says the word is he wants to stay. I'm sure he would want to stay, whether or not, there's a place for him. Again, if you're going to back the manager, then you got to back the manager. And if Amorim doesn't think Rude's services are required, then what can you do, right? I mean, but I don't see a problem with it. But again, there's Rene Haka, there's Yelatan Rewalar, there's Andreas Jorsen. Like, if Ruben Amorim is bringing a goalkeeper coach, why do we need goalkeeping coaches? Why do we need these guys? So I wish he could bring a medical staff with him, because fucking hell, our medical staff is not fit for purpose. But it is what it is. You guys let me know what you think. Would you have wanted to have Amorim in sooner? Are you happy to let Rude coach these next 3 matches? Maybe like Nick, you don't think that we need Amorim and Rude's good enough. Maybe Rude's at the wheel for good. You guys let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinion on the match. Wasn't really much to go on. You notice I didn't really do a 3 thoughts today, because it just wasn't really, I didn't feel it was necessary, right? It would have been a bit of overkill personally. Nick says, yeah, strikers coach for Rude. Danny says they still haven't addressed the medical staff ban. Yeah, I don't I don't get that at all. I know we just recently brought in a couple of like we brought in Arsenal's physio, like what, not that long ago, but I just don't get it. I don't get what's going on with Malacia. I don't get what's going on with Mason Mount. Like, we know, I mean, we're not surprised with Shaw, but it just doesn't make sense to me that these players get injured and they just stay injured. It's like colonial times around here where you get it cold and everyone's like, well, it was nice knowing you, or you have live to the ripe old age of 23 or something. Like, I don't get it. Does not make sense to me. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Short video today. Just wanted to stop by to react to the match. I didn't realize it was only Thursday already. This week has felt like it is dragging on. I didn't realize that the Chelsea match was Sunday. I thought it was Saturday because we played Wednesday. Usually when we play Wednesday, we play Saturday. So probably going to jump on tomorrow or maybe even Saturday to do the preview of the Chelsea match, probably tomorrow most likely, to get your thoughts ahead of that one, because it is going to be an interesting match. Chelsea rested a lot of their key players yesterday, as did a lot of teams. City rested a lot of key players. I think that Spurs played a lot of youngsters. I didn't really pay attention to Liverpool, so I don't know who they played. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot of the managers from those clubs are really taking the Carabao Cup super, super seriously. I'm pretty sure Pep had made some comments this season that he wasn't going to, quote, waste energy on the Carabao Cup. But I think that it's a trophy, and I think that it shows, to me, in my opinion, at least a little bit of a disconnect from the league to not at least make an effort. I mean, we criticized Jurgen Klopp years ago for just not even showing up to League Cup matches personally, right? There was that match he just didn't bother showing up to. And I think that it's a bit of an insult. And then people want to complain and wonder, like, why nobody takes domestic cup seriously and how do we make them bigger? Because these managers don't care. And maybe that trickles down from the club ownership or whatever, but it's infectious. And it's spreading into a younger generation who's now only growing up seeing that nobody really cares about the League Cup. Nobody really cares about the FA Cup. I'm not saying that I'm only going to be happy if we win the League Cup this year. It's not it at all, but it is a domestic cup. It is a trophy. And so it should be taken seriously. Liverpool fans can't walk around trying to chant quadruple and then turn around the next day and say, well, we don't care about the League Cup, or the FA Cup. Come on, hypocrites, bro. Danny says, I would have liked to seen Amos for the last 15. Yeah, I didn't get that one either. That was another point I wanted to make, Danny. So thank you for bringing it up. I would have liked to see Dallo come off maybe towards the end. Maybe push Leisha in the center back and put Amos on. I thought we could have done that. Again, I'm not saying Amos should be starting regularly. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm not even saying he's going to move the needle. I'm just saying I would like to have seen him at least for a few minutes here and there this season. But the season's still young. Yeah, we're about a quarter of the way through it, but at the same time, there's still a lot of time to go. Maybe we can see it happen in the Europa League, maybe in the next round of the Carabao Cup, maybe the early rounds of the FA Cup if we're playing like Oldham or some shit. I don't know. No offense, Oldham supporters, but I think we will. I hear it. It'd be nice to see him sooner. Darko, welcome, bud. How are you? Says Eric Tenhag Hout fans had to endure so much hate, and now everything is clear. Where is the apology? Apology for what? Are you asking people to apologize for not wanting Tenhag sacked? I don't know if I would jump on that too soon, but I mean, I get it. I think, like I said, I was very frustrated that the players have suddenly turned it on. I don't think it's very professional. Like I said this to Dylan yesterday, people forget that the term footballer also has another term in front of it, which is professional. And to me, it's not professional to pick and choose when you want to turn up just based on how you feel about a manager. Like, that to me is not professional. And we can't say that Eric Ten Hag got a fair shot if that's what the players were doing. You can't just decide to down tools. I don't think that's very fair. Give the tactics an honest to goodness shot, and then we'll see if the tactics work. But if you're not even trying, it's not fair to the manager. But big up, Darko. Good to see you again, my friend. I don't really feel like, I personally don't want to sit here and sow discourse in the fan base. I don't like how the fan base in football period over the last several years is it's always like, for some reason, there's always got to be an argument. There's always just got to be, I want an apology. I've got receipts. Like, and people calling out people for being flip-flops, for changing their mind and stuff as new information comes to light, or as new things develop and situations change. It can get a little petty, in my opinion. And so I try to stay out of that kind of bubble in terms of those kind of conversations. But Darko says, you are mistaken. Yesterday we played with 2 pivot. Casemiro thrived because of Ugarte. I mean, we did play with a pivot. I don't think anybody has said otherwise. We did talk about Casemiro. Go back and watch the beginning of the video. I did nothing but praise Casemiro and Ugarte, and we're talking about how they complemented each other very well. Nick says, still most managers care about the FA Cup, but not so much on the Carabao. And it is what it is. I know Pep's going to cry about having no squad depth. And he's already cried about it, but it is what it is. Danny says the players never apologize. The players won't. I think a couple of them have posted on social media, but the players don't apologize, because to apologize in today's society, especially when you're a certain age, means you have to admit that you've done something wrong. And I think that modern society, the modern people of a certain age, and I think things like social media and whatnot have made apologizing so difficult for people to do. Two of the most important words you could ever say, and quite frankly, 2 of the hardest words you can ever say, is I'm sorry. And people just can't do it because they don't want to look like they're wrong. They don't want to look like they made a mistake. And I get it. Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong, but it's a 2-word sentence, and that's it. It's like, it doesn't take much more than that. It doesn't need to be much more than that. But the players, again, like I said, Rude's going to know who the bluffers are, and Amorim will find out very quickly who can be trusted or not. I hope that he's able to see past the bullshit. I hope that new managers, when they come in, don't just come in and say, okay, we're starting here. Like, go back and watch matches, go back and watch performances, go back and pay attention to what's been going on and off the pitch. Do a bit of diligence and research beforehand to figure out, like, no, I can't count on Shaw. I can't count on Mount. Rashford, you are iffy right now in my books. Things like that, managers need to do more frequently, and just go in with a little bit of that knowledge ahead of time. Darko says, yeah, so the Erik ten Hag out fans weren't wrong. I think that you can be manager out if you want to. I've never said nobody can be that, but I think you're never going to hear me get into a conversation that whittles down to black or white thinking, right or wrong, good or bad, because I think that life is not that simple. It's to me, it's an oversimplification to whittle things down to this or that, either or. Life, there's a lot of gray area. There's a whole spectrum on a lot of these situations. It's not about Erik ten Hag out. I think that he was probably right that he's let go, Ten Hag. I think that it was clear that it just wasn't working. But I think the problem is the people who have been Erik ten Hag out since his first season, people who wanted him out last year. They say, oh, he should have been sacked in the spring. So you're saying you're not happy that we won a FA Cup. So you're saying you just know automatically that a different manager or an interim manager would have done the same in the FA Cup final. Like, no one knows that. So it's easy to look back with hindsight and try to justify jumping the gun and having an opinion, but there's literally no way anyone could know what's going on. And again, that to me completely excuses the players from the role that they have in not only Erik ten Hag getting sacked, but Ollie getting sacked, Jose getting sacked, Ragnick getting sacked. Like, the players have a lot to do with it. And so it's not as simple as right or wrong, in my opinion. I do think, Darko, like you're saying, Erik ten Hag did complicate things. I think he was a little too reactionary sometimes, maybe changing things around too much based on what worked in one match versus not. So I'm not saying Erik ten Hag didn't make mistakes. I'm just saying at some point we also need to back a manager through hard times. And at some point we have to choose to back a manager over backing the players. Jose Mourinho probably shouldn't have been sacked when he did. I don't like Jose Mourinho, and you guys know that. And so you know how big it is for me to say that and say that he should have been given time. But we chose at that time to back the players instead of Mourinho. And who's to say if all these other managers are victims of that mentality, because a lot of these same players were around back then. I don't know. Again, it's too hard to look back and say, and we're not going to know a lot. So not a right or wrong answer. It's just, it is what it is. So Danny says at least half a dozen need to F off. Yeah, Danny, we know the players. You you are not a fan of. I know that Rashford's probably first on your list. Bruno, Maguire, Shaw. Who else is Lindelof is up there. There's a lot of players who probably still need to get phased out. And I think we're going to see a few of them, maybe even as early as January. I think Lindelof's probably gone. Maguire's probably gone. I think that Mount might get another year. Rashford needs to really show me something this season because he's also running the risk. Danny says, I'd give Bruno one more year. Dylan and I were talking yesterday. I would even maybe consider giving Eriksen another year personally. Maybe even Evans. I think that Eriksen is doing just fine. I don't see a problem with that. Nee, my guy, Nee. It's good to hear from you, my friend. Nee says manager situations are always complicated. The only thing that's clear cut is the lack of positive results. Most of the other factors are just various shades of gray that require nuance to discuss. Yeah, it's never as simple as just right or wrong, and tenhag in or out, good or bad. It's not. Like you're saying, there's a lot of factors. But again, as you said, and as I've said, at several points in time during the season, it's about the results. I've said from the get-go when Justin was here and we did that season expectation, like it's not about injuries, it's not about not having his player, it's just about results, and the results just weren't coming. We were too many draws, too many losses, not enough wins. We have yet to put 2 wins together in a row, I think, in the league especially, and it's just not happening. And we just weren't clinical. And I can't blame Ten Hag necessarily for the clinical thing, but again, I've said many times, the manager, whether it's the manager's fault or not, the manager is going to be the one who's going to face the music. It is just the way football works. And Erik Ten Hag knows that. All managers know that. And so I don't feel bad. They know what they're getting into. I think maybe at the end it was clear that perhaps Ten Hag was just a bit out of his depth. He does have tactics. He does have a system. The question is whether or not that system works in the Premier League. Doesn't seem like it did. I don't think he's a great communicator. Clearly his English isn't super good. So, well, neither is mine apparently. But I just think that it just, at the end of the day, just maybe ended up not being the good fit. We can't deny the fact that he got 2 trophies. We can't, even if you want to negate the trophies, look back at some of his numbers over this first 2 seasons, especially compared to other managers like Pep, like Klopp, like Arteta. And he actually was better than them in a lot of metrics. Like he had more wins in his first 50 matches at United than like Klopp and Pep did. His points per game were better and things like that. And so it's important to remember that. So Danny says, no one will buy Rashford. That's the thing. Now, I think if PSG still wanted Rashford, I think they could come in and get Rashford. Personally, I think for them, he looks like a good Mbappe replacement. And PSG do like Rashford. They have wanted him in the past. This season is probably going to be the last season for Rashford to make a big move. But then again, who knows? I mean, Harry Kane went to Bayern when he was like 30. So I'm not comparing Rashford to Harry Kane before anybody clips me up. I'm just saying. Danny says Eriksen needs to go, bring in a younger, more physical 8 with the same attributes. Maybe Angel Gomez, on a free. Maybe he could be that Eriksen replacement. I would not have a problem replacing Eriksen with the free transfer of Angel Gomez, personally. I think he is a similar profile to Eriksen. I think he's really good at dropping deep, picking up the ball, launching the attack. I think he's good in the ball and in around midfield, final third, ball at his feet. I think that Ineos should be all over Nipan, Mastantuono. I think these guys could come in and rotate like we've discussed several times. There are several young players that we've been linked with. Baturina at Dinamo Zagreb. I like Sudikov at Shakhtar Donetsk. I think is a good midfielder. A lot of people are looking at him as well. João Gomez, Dan, we know you love Houston with João Gomez. Is he similar? Would he be replacing Casemiro, do you think? He probably would be costly. It depends on if Wolves get relegated. Wolves are struggling a bit. So it's always good to keep one eye on some of these relegation teams and seeing what players you can kind of swoop in from them. Chelsea did that with Romeo Lavia. If we're looking at defenders, for instance, I don't think there's anything wrong with just looking around at some of these relegation sides, seeing who you can swoop in for. If Crystal Palace can't dig themselves out of this hole, and I told you all about Crystal Palace's new manager bounce under Glasner, and they weren't going to last. We see this all the time. New manager bounce is a thing. Maybe if Crystal Palace go down, we can sneak in and try to get Wharton or something and have him come in and rotate. Danny says, take Angel on a free too. No, João Gomez more of an. Is he more of an 8? I don't watch a ton of Wolves, to be honest. But I do think that, like you're saying, if João Gomez, if he's going to be a little bit more box to box, I don't have a problem with that. I do want us to look at also, I don't want us to ignore experienced players. Personally, like Ederson from Atalanta, I think could be good in this system. I think that someone like Barella could be amazing in this system under Amorim. Good experienced players. This is why I wanted Rabiot. I do like having a balance. Anytime we've had young, even the class of 92, they didn't do things on their own. They had experienced players with them to help them. And I think that I don't want to discount that. We can't afford to lose experienced players like Evans, Maguire, Eriksson, Casemiro, and then only have youngsters and younger players. We have to have experience. We have to have leadership. We have to have players who have won things and have that experience. And I think that that's important. So if there are deals to be done, if there are players that we have our eye on that could come in and help maintain those levels, bring a bit of leadership on and off the pitch and the dressing room especially, I think that is invaluable personally. Danny says Andre. Yeah, isn't that the guy that that Wolves signed from Fluminense? Is that where he's from that a lot of people were looking at? Yeah, I usually see. I don't watch Wolves really at all this season, so I have no idea what Wolves are doing. But in any case, that is my thoughts on the match. Let me know what you guys are thinking. We'll be back maybe tomorrow for the Chelsea preview. Could be as late as Saturday. It just depends on my schedule. This week is filling up quickly. But in any case, thank you everyone for stopping by. Danny, Nee, Dark Crow, Nick, and Justin. Good to see everybody this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're buzzing about 5 goals. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. We are on the road to 2K. And as always, if you do want $5 off your order at GoGoalShop, if you want a jersey, use the code in the description when you register to get $5 off your order. If you don't want to give the Glazers money, if you don't want to give the club money, heck, if you just don't want to spend $100+ on a jersey, go hit GoGoalShop. They are amazing. You guys have seen me wear a couple of their jerseys. Dylan grabbed himself a Hoyland jersey, nice long sleeve blue jersey from this season, and it looks amazing. Go check it out. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your Halloween. Don't eat too much candy. And I will see you guys on the next one. Later.